First, I'm going to make sure that the patient is centered on the table, the legs are equidistant apart, and that everything is out of his pockets. I'll then clear the display by bringing the patient's legs to 45 degrees and pumping them 3 times. Next, I'll perform the functional leg length reflex. It takes 3 seconds for the reflex to engage. The patient has a right short leg. I'll have him start by turning his head to the right, checking for wrong-in. If wrong-in is positive, the patient will have a lateral atlas. Good. Next, I'll have him turn his head to the left, checking for cervical syndrome, which would first present as a posterior C1 followed by a posterior C5. If the patient's legs, the patient turned his head to the right leg became long, and then when he turned his head to the left leg became long. That would indicate bilateral cervical syndrome, which we would check by starting at a PI occiput followed by coccyx, then C1, C5, T6, and then in rare cases, it presents as a lateral atlas. So we're going through all those lines of drive now. So start with the wrong-in, checking for laterality. All right. Then I'll check for both the right torque and left torque. Next would be cervical syndrome, which would first be the posterior C1, followed by posterior C5. All right. After that, we would check for bilateral cervical syndrome, which would start with the PI occiput, followed by coccyx, which we would adjust with sphenoid. No torque on either one of those. Sphenoid coming. So then we're checking for posterior C1, laterally, C5, and then C6, PI. And that concludes priority 1. After that, we'll check for priority 2, which is done by first assessing for lateral occiput, just testing laterally. Line of drive would be there. That would present for a short left leg. Then we would check for sacrum, both as a whole, and then if he tested positive, we would test individually each sacral segment. So the adjustment for the sacrum would be from M to L with torque. Right. And then lastly, we would check again coccyx, which we already did, making sure that eye, which we would then follow with sphenoid. So following priority 2, we'll move on to our Deerfield check, checking to see that the patient's short leg becomes long after the Deerflex reflex is engaged. We would start there by checking for an AI sacral base, followed by an AS trochanter, a PI ilia, and then I'll have the patient squeeze his legs together. If the short leg becomes shorter, that indicates a superior pubis. I'll have him flip over. You make a diamond triangle. Use that to find the pubic bone. Good, you can move your hands. And then we're going to come from superior to inferior. Maybe flip again. for the AS trochanter, coming this way. For the AI sacral base, up on the ischial tube, shooting towards the contralateral shoulder, and then for a PI ilium, underneath and shooting I to S, slight M to L. After that, we're going to move on to priority 4, which is axis, which can subluxate either to the long leg or the short leg side. So we'll start by checking TRT A. Check the legs. Alright. If it was positive, we check the left side, the short leg side first, followed by long leg side. So that'd be the line of drive, plus or minus torque. After that, we're going to move on to C7. Check. Check plus or minus torque. The drive for C7 will just be straight. Alright, next we'll move on to L3. Plus or minus torque. Let's check L5 and clearing the display, which I would do after every adjustment. 5. Plus torque. If all other segments, if nothing popped up, I would test, just do a scanning test. So start with the cervical, thoracic, and then the lumbar. If anything tested positive on the reflex, I would then further investigate that area to look for subluxations more specifically to those areas. So I saved some time by not performing the reflex. After every adjustment, you would perform the reflex, and obviously you would assess the legs after every adjustment